Welcome to the Berlin Drawing Room. So thank you for joining me for painting a wildflower. Wanted to say watercolor wildflower in one word, I think. Painting a wildflower in watercolor today. My name is Mira, and I'm an artist, and I'm also the founder of Berlin Drawing Room, as well as the Botanical Watercolor instructor. So I love doing these free classes because it's really fun to get in touch with people from all over the world and paint together at all different levels, all different backgrounds. It's really interesting. And it would be great, since I don't think let's see, right now we're at 52 participants, and I have a feeling that's still going to go up in the next few minutes. It would take too much time to go through each person, but I'd love to hear about where you are from and or where you're joining from, and how you found out about the class in the chat. If you want to leave a comment or just to say hi, you're very, very welcome to do so. So I'm sitting here in Berlin, Germany, even though I'm actually American. I'm from California, and I actually just got back from a trip to Oregon and California to visit my family there. So even though normally I like to focus on local wild plants in my classes, so usually that means Berlin because that's where I'm based. This time I decided to choose something from my recent travels from Oregon to share with all of you. So something a little bit different, but I think we have quite a few people joining from the United States, it looks like. So, so for you, it's a local wildflower. So it really is all relative, isn't it? So what I'm going to do is just deal with a couple of logistics. I'll tell you a little bit about the plant that we are going to be painting. I'm going to go over some advice also on the drawing, but I won't be doing my entire drawing in real time with you because in the end, it's going to take like too much time. So what I'm just giving you a heads up in case you want to get started while I'm explaining other things. Basically, I will show you how to approach the drawing, but since there's a lot of detail, then I'll eventually paint from a drawing that I've already completed. One person is saying that they can't hear me, but maybe it's a problem on their end. Can everybody else hear me? Yes, okay. So sorry, wildflower. I don't know. Maybe you have to turn up the volume on your device. So I am going to switch. Wait, actually, first I need to I have a link for all of you. I've put all of my reference images, including a drawing, into a blog post on our website. So instead of doing a slideshow that you'll only be able to see for a minute, I'm going to actually, I will just give you all, sorry, I'm just trying to find the chat here. I'm going to give you all the direct link. So I've just put the link to the reference image in the chat. So everyone should be able to see that. If you can't, sometimes it's kind of like if you're on an iPad or something, it can be hard to find the chat on Zoom. So if you have any trouble, just go to the Berlin Drawing Room website, click on blog, and then just click on the free class, the very first blog post. So I'm going to go to a screen share now so I can show you all what we are talking about. Okay, so yeah, just for those of you that might be trying to find it from the website, this is just what the blog post looks like. But again, you can just use the link that I posted directly into the chat. So here is the photograph that I took on a very beautiful, one of my favorite hikes on the Metolius River in Oregon, in Central Oregon. So this is a Columbine flower. It's the Aquileia formosa, or Western Columbine. And what really strikes me about this flower, besides being very colorful and really standing out for that bright orange red color in the forest, is the really unusual shape of this flower. So you'll see these really strange cone-like shapes coming out the back of the flower. So that was what really attracted me, but also made me curious about the anatomy of this flower. So I thought that being able to understand that could really help us with our drawings. So I did a little bit of research. And so I thought, so this drawing here, you are very, very welcome to trace this or to refer to this for your own drawing, but I also thought this can include some very useful information to understand the anatomy of this flower. So what I discovered is that the back part, these cone-like shapes, are actually called spurs. And they are actually part of the flower petal. The parts of the flower that look like petals in the traditional petal shape are actually sepals. Now, sepals are actually, in the evolution of flowers, they are modified leaves. So the sepal is what would encapsulate the bud of the flower before it opens. So it is actually a kind of like a residual kind of flower part that then becomes part of the flower once it opens. But the actual petals are this funny shape. I just isolated it over here. It's a special shape called a spurred petal. And then this, you can see when it's on its own, it is kind of, actually, if you don't have the color, it does look a little bit like a leaf. And that is a sepal. So here we have the stamen. Those are just actually quite ordinary looking, like how they look on most flowers. So comprised of the filament and the anther. The pistil is actually not visible here. So, and what I learned is that that would mean that this is an immature flower because the pistils uncurl when the flower becomes more mature. So with that introduction, one other thing that I thought was interesting about this flower is that although some people do eat the flowers, the plant itself is actually quite highly toxic. So especially the seeds and the roots. And what I read that it's fine to eat the flowers in small quantities. When I hear that, I just think there are other things we can eat. I would personally I don't find that very convincing, especially with the rest of the plant being so toxic. So I just classify this plant in my mind as toxic, just so that I don't forget, like, was it the seeds or the flower you could eat? Better just leave it alone, in my opinion, but I find those things still quite interesting to know about. And yeah, like a lot of toxic plants, it has historically been used for medicinal purposes. Sometimes quite a few toxic plants, like foxglove as well, that are highly toxic in very, very small quantities. They also have medicinal uses. Also really interesting. Yeah, while we're on this page, I'll just give a shout out that although this class is free, the production of it is not. So if anybody wants to make a small donation at the end of the class, if you like it, like anywhere from 5 to 20 euros would be super appreciated, but also totally voluntary. And yeah, the class is free. That's just an option there if you would like to show your appreciation. And ensure that these free classes can continue. So, Gail, the drawing, that's why I put the link in the chat. I can put it again, just to make it easier to find. I'll just put the link one more time. So the reason I put it on the blog is so that everyone can have the drawing even when I'm not doing the screen share. So I am now going to go to my desk view. Oh. It would be great if everyone can keep themselves on mute, because we're just so many people that if everybody has like a cat or a kid or a door in the background, it just multiplies, you know. Okay, so this is my desk. This is where I'll be showing you what I'm doing. I did just another view of the flower before the class that I can share with you already, just as a little bit of warming up and quite fun. So I wanted to start. So like I said to you before, so I do have, because I wanted to have a clean drawing that prepared for the class, that has very, very light pencil lines, which is typical for a drawing that you would prepare for a watercolor painting. Like you don't want super dark pencil lines to be showing through, even though I actually don't mind if some pencil lines are visible. So I do have this super light drawing that is just kind of disastrous as a demo because nobody can see anything. So I have that prepared. But as promised, I am going to share some information about drawing specimen in my sketchbook. So this isn't necessarily, like I would normally be using a very light HB pencil and also not pressing very hard on the paper, not to leave any kind of indentation, because the watercolor paper is also quite soft. But now I can just show you a little bit of drawing in my sketchbook with a 2B pencil and in a little looser style, just to give everybody a sense of which direction to go in. So with this really complicated form of the flower, I think it really just helps to start out with a base of like where everything will be attached. So this is not really something that you can see necessarily, but I'm drawing this elliptical shape because we're looking at the flower in perspective, and then the different parts of the flower. So here we have like the sepal, for example, this direction. I know kind of where to put them. So now the next one coming up. And then these really interesting cone shapes. Before I lose track of where it is, I'm going to just add where the stem would be. So see how the stem is now in the center of this ellipse. So that would go there. And then these cone shapes. I also would highly recommend that you don't make your drawing too small. In fact, because that's really helpful with capturing all the detail. In fact, I think with this demonstration I'm doing, I kind of wish I'd made it a little bit bigger. If you're familiar with this flower, I would say the size that I did my previous painting at, it's about like 1.5 to 2 times the life size of this flower. And that really gave me a good amount of space to get to all the details. So when you have a shape that's going behind another part of the plant, sometimes what I like to do is just draw the line really lightly on top of the shape that goes in front of it, and then just erase. I find that a lot easier. And look, I can erase some of these other lines I don't need anymore too. I find that to be much easier than stopping and then starting again and just hoping that those lines are going to look like they connect. And that's, I think, a pretty useful rule to use, whether you're drawing a figure or a chair or like for really anything. And then these extra lines, see, this is why, like, even when I'm erasing these, you can still see it, but this is why I wouldn't make the drawings this dark for my watercolor painting. But you can then erase that ellipse that you started with. So this shape, you can then, of course, erase it. You can erase the lines of the overlapping shapes once you have the basic form. And then you can just start to refine things like this smaller shape here. We can add now. For the Stammen, I wouldn't really recommend that you draw hard every single line. I'll hold this up in a second so you can see how I'm doing this. So I've just really lightly done a few of the lines. Which is going to help as a guide later, but it's like with things that are that detailed and tiny, if you try to draw every single one, it's actually going to look strange because your eye just does not see it that way. There might be a couple in front that stick out that you could maybe add a more precise form to. But if you try to draw every single one, it won't. Like you could add detail to just a couple of them. But in the end, you don't really have to do so much because we're going to paint it anyway. So this is my approach to the drawing. But like I said, I'm going to revert to my extremely light drawing on watercolor paper for the actual demo because, yeah, these two things are just unfortunately not very compatible. But I thought for such a complicated shape of a flower, it would still be really good to give my approach on the drawing itself. So the reference image is the photograph in the blog post. So that is the photograph that I'm going to be painting from that you can all use. So it would be really helpful if you're able to set up your situation so that you can see me and the reference image at the same time. I'll just say a couple of things about my approach to the painting before we start, because I imagine most of you still need a little time to finish the drawing. So this is just a different view of the same flower. And what I'm going to be focusing on today is using a technique with a very dry brush, because this wildflower is so light and delicate that we really want to give this very delicate light feeling by letting a lot of the white of the paper show through. So it's not pure white, but as you can see when I hold this up close, it's not like no petal or sepal is painted like completely solid red. And so that's what I want to show you how to do. You can see it here as well. Like it's also quite nice because this approach can be done in a looser way compared to some of the other watercolor techniques that we cover in my workshops, which can involve like a lot of layering and like building up of rich color and shadow. This is already pretty developed, but even as you'll see in some of the earlier stages of the development of this painting, it could be used like also as part of a sketching practice if you leave it at an earlier stage of this painting. So I'm going to show you that. So I am moving along, but it's really fine if you are not at the exact same place as me in your painting. A little closer. It's always like this tension between wanting to get the camera as close to the painting as possible and me actually being able to reach the painting that I'm working on and not bump into the camera. So trying to find that sweet spot. I also want you to see a bit of my palette, but so there's going to be a recording of this class. So if you watch what I'm doing and make the painting later, or if you don't finish it today and you need to look back on what I did, that'll be available for you, not instantly, but in a few days, then we will manage to post the recording and send you all a link. So, so no pressure at all. I'll just show you my setup first. I really like watercolor nibs for botanical painting because, especially for a painting like this, you actually need paint. So you're not mixing big quantities of paint like for when you would want to have tubes of watercolor. Are really good for that. You're just doing like little bits of paint and it's easy to transport. And then for extra color mixing, I like to just use these white ceramic or porcelain plates. I'm going to be using the number is rubbed off, but this is, I know it's a 4. Number 4 sable brush for almost the entire painting. And I might go in with like a number 1 brush for some smaller details at the end, but we'll see if I even need that. What I love about these sable brushes is that even though this is a medium-sized brush, the tip of it is, when you really make it pointy, is pretty much already the size of a number 1. So it just holds a lot more paint. And in fact, before I actually start on the painting, this is what I want to focus on in terms of technique, and what I want to show you today is like how you can control the amount of paint and amount of water on your brush. So this is something that comes up a lot in my workshops because people, it just takes a lot of getting used to with watercolor if you don't have a lot of experience with it, like how to know how much water you need on your brush for any given area you're painting. So the scratch paper actually has this old sketch on it. I mean, just a sample, if I wanted to fill in like this large section of this bell-shaped flower versus this smaller section, you know, obviously I'm going to need much different amounts of paint on my brush. And today we want to focus on, like I said, a quite dry brush technique. So if you are painting something small, but you have too much paint, too much water on your brush, you're going to end up with like a puddle of paint at the end. And when that dries, it's going to create a bloom. So, and also what can happen if you have too much water, it can dry and create like an outline around the shape. If you're painting a large area and you don't have enough, on your brush, it's just gonna look very, well, you'll just run out. It will just look very dry. But actually for today, that's actually what we want, because what's actually nice about this is that you can also paint over it, and because of the way that it's sort of tapered out, you'll be able to blend the colors very easily. So the first thing that I see happening a lot is that people, for example, you put your brush in your water. You go to your palette to mix your color. And then you think, okay, this is the color that I want. And you're happy with that. And then you immediately go to paint. The problem with that is that because you just dipped your brush in your water, you've just fully dipped your brush in your paint to mix it, your brush is fully loaded with the maximum water and color just by default. So the first habit that I really want you to get into the habit of is, well, either just mixing your colors with a different brush, that could be one solution, or every time you do that, always having a paper towel nearby, and before you paint, dry your brush by blotting it on the paper towel. And now we're getting not just the color that we want, but we're getting the amount of paint onto the brush that we want, potentially. So if I'm painting a small area, or if I want to use this dry brush technique, I will just dip the very tip of my brush to my paint well. And then I can have very good brush roll for fine lines. So we can actually use that technique for pretty much this entire flower, because there are just really no parts of this flower that require like a large amount of paint on the brush. So I am going to start my painting by mixing a color that you actually do not even have, that you will not even see on this flower at all. In fact, the first color that I'm going to mix is a purple. So I'm using, right now, I'm using cobalt blue. And quinacridone magenta. But there are many ways to arrive at this color. And I am actually going to be using this as a color to mix with the colors of the actual flower to make like a kind of muted, cool shadow version of that color. So I won't be using it on its own, but I'm going to use this a couple of times as a mixer. So it's just, it's not a very vibrant purple. It's kind of like just a light grayish purple color. And now I'm going to take my yellow, and I'm just going to mix in a little bit of that purple into my yellow. So painting shadows on yellow flowers can be very tricky because it's like you don't want the shadows to turn green, but you also don't want them to turn orange. So like, what color can you add? So this is actually giving me like a kind of, pretty hard to describe, like a kind of almost khaki color. Like but anyway, regardless of what you would call this, it's going to work really nicely for these areas of the flower that are yellow, but they are actually in shadow. And I am going to start out painting very transparently because like I said, one of my goals in painting this flower is to maintain the lightness of it, the light, delicate nature of this wildflower. So I'm going to err on the side of caution, since with watercolor, you can always go darker, but you cannot go the reverse. You cannot go lighter again. So I'm starting off just with a lot of transparency, and the transparency is just by diluting the pigment with plenty of water. I'll use this color up here at the top to add a little shadow here, because this is going to be kind of a very warm yellowish orangey area. And now I'm going to go to my reds. I'm taking here, I ended up using two different reds for this painting. A warm red and a magenta. So my warm red is a vermilion, but it's not important that you use the same one as me. It's just important that you have a warm red, because this is the red that's going like in the direction of orange. If you don't have that, you can even just mix a little bit of orange into whatever red you do have. And then if you look at the difference between the petals and the sepals, so the sepals are a cooler red, less orange than the petals. So just to get that differentiation, in some of the darker areas of the petals, I did use also a cooler red. And yeah, I mix them together. But for right now, I'm just going to use the vermilion on its own. Again, drying my brush in between. And I mean, I'm basically, like, I'm really just painting with brush strokes here. I'm not like filling in whole areas with paint. Again, that's how we're gonna get like this delicate, papery wildflower look. Almost like I'm giving a makeup tutorial or something. I think it's not that different. So now I'm just going into some of the areas that are the darkest, and I'm adding just the pure vermilion. So the first thing we're really focusing on is just trying to give some three-dimensionality to the drawing. Again, like I find that if you start the painting just by coloring everything in first with the flat color to give it a very flat two-dimensional look, which as long as you start very transparently, it's not necessarily a problem, but it's like you're starting with something that you're going to have to work back from. And I think in this way, it's just a little bit easier to start with a lot of contrast and then push things back again. So for the sepals, I'm going to be using that combination of the magenta and the vermilion. And I'm really just focusing on the just the dark. There aren't any like really darks here, but I'm focusing on the darkest parts now. And I'm really just using the very tip of my brush. And the brush, again, it doesn't have any excess water on it. So I dried my brush and just dipped the very tip into my paint well. I will hold this up for you in one moment because this is so small what I'm painting right now. Probably a little bit hard to see. Okay, so I'll hold this up. See the camera. So you can see the way that I've added the areas of darker red. I haven't added things in like as if they are geometric blocks, right? I've in many cases, like you can see I've left a kind of feathered edge. And if you look really closely at the reference photo, you can actually see the creases in the petals. So this is like a very loose way to try to give the impression of that texture. And right now it might look a little bit strange, but as I add the main body color over the top of this, it's going to blend in a really nice way that gives this subtle feeling of texture. Okay, so I'm gonna go with just a little bit more of the vermilion now. So a little bit lighter. And just work on building up this texture a little bit more. Just looking for places where there are small variations in the color, because again, what I really don't want is for this to feel like one massive flat block of color. So I'm just looking for these areas, texture that I can emphasize And I mean, it's a challenge with this flower because you want to have a light approach, but then there are these really three-dimensional forms, so you need to give it some structure as well. So that's the part we're working on now. I'm kind of putting off the greens for now, but we'll get to them. In fact, I'm going to use a pigment that I'm quite fond of called green gold. The green gold is essentially just, it's not actually a real pigment, it is a mixture. It's just basically yellow with a little bit of green in it. So like a chartreuse. And it's quite transparent. So if you don't have that color, it really isn't critical. I just find that for painting plants and leaves, it's like a very useful color for mixing. And I'm going to use it a bit for the tips of the petals here. There is that little yellowish green at the very tip. I'm going to start working on the salmon just by adding a bit of yellow to the anthers, which are those yellow dots. So don't want yellow to be too bright. I want it to be diluted because they do have that kind of chalky, little bit of like a chalky yellow. See. I might add a couple more that maybe aren't even in my drawing. And now I'm going to use that very first color that was the yellow mixed with a little bit of the purple. It just becomes like a grayish yellow. And I'm gonna add just these kind of loose lines. To start to build up. I'm thinking about this area more like as one texture and not so much as like many individual shapes. I mean, of course, you could paint each individual one, but your painting, the basic thing is that your painting would need to be much, much bigger. It's not necessarily that more difficult, actually, but you would just need, if you want to have that level of realism, you need a much bigger painting. Okay, so now I'm going to add some yellow to the petals themselves. This is the first thing I'm doing that you could even begin to call a wash. A wash is like, if you're familiar with watercolor painting, it's more like a flat application of color. So this is the very first thing I'm doing that would be in that category. And again, it's very, very transparent, because what you want is for that first kind of shadow layer that was also very light, you want that to still show. And I have let the yellow go up a little bit higher than where you actually see it. I might even here, because you are seeing like a kind of yellow glow coming through the petals, like bleeding into the orange. It's almost like there's yellow coming from the inside, coming from this light effect. So I know that when I layer the color, it'll be nice to have that yellow in the background there. So now I can mix a little bit of vermilion into my yellow. So basically mixing a warm red together with yellow to make just a light orange. And very transparent, I'm going to be applying the orange to these spurs. So as I paint over these little bit larger areas of color, I'm not losing any of the detail that I did in the beginning because it's very transparent. Now, if it looks to you like it is too transparent, then that is really easy to solve, because all you have to do is let this dry and then just go in with a second layer. So that's really, there's a really easy solution to that. Whereas if you start out too opaque, then it's very difficult to salvage the painting, because you would basically need to then like make everything else darker. So you can see, like, I'm just in certain areas, I'm just adding more color on top, and I can just use a damp brush to blend those edges of it.
Hello, can you hear me? There is a problem with the sound. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, but I'm just really not able to address individual technical concerns during this class. Can nobody hear me, or is it just one person again?
Too many people have leave a message.
We're all having problems.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Yeah, it might just be the internet connection. Sometimes
Much better. Okay.
I think it's just, I didn't actually change anything, so I think it's just,
No, it's not the internet connection. It's when you turn your face, the sound is like a robot.
okay. I'll try
Sorry.
to.
I'm not interrupt anymore. Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay. So since I've worked on this area quite a bit, I think I should add some green before I get too much further, because I think sometimes it can be like taking a risk if you build up on the areas next to it. So I'm going to make a room that is basically, I'll just bring this over so you can see better. I'm taking my permanent green, but you can really use any green as a starting point because it's just a very loose starting point. We're going to make changes to it. So it almost doesn't matter which green you start out with. I'm adding some yellow to it. I think that's quite a bit. Now I've got like a crazy bright green that looks totally unnatural. So I'm actually going to add a little bit of red to my green to dull it. In fact, this is my magenta. That's handier. I think I need even more yellow. Still really bright. I think I can add a little bit more magenta even. Because you want your green to look like organic, you know? You don't want it to look like kind of some kind of apple candy. Okay, so this is looking better. Okay. Now, again, after mixing colors, I'm just making sure to dry my brush. Water. Making sure to dry my brush so that I don't have too much paint on there for this very thin stem. And yeah, like everything else, I'm just going to start out with a pretty thin transparent layer. I'm not really worrying about any of the details right now. I just want to have a bit of green in there so that I can see the color while I'm at it, I'm even just going to go onto this leaf. Sometimes if I have a color and I see another place I can use it, then I'm just going to go for it. Right here. I think this color well here. And although this color is like the lightest part of the stem, I think I can use it actually for some of the darker parts of this bud, because that bud is just so light. So while I have it on my brush, I'll just use it for that. And I think I can even just use it for the base layer of the leaf as well. I'm not gonna go into as much detail on the leaves today as with the flower, just because with the short amount of time we have, just choosing the flowers to focus on more. And I'll just add a bit more color to this darker part of the stem. Leaving a little bit of a lighter area at the edge there. And if I want to, I can blend this a little bit just with a clean, damp brush. Okay, so now I feel like it's time for the red finally, right? Or should we just do this green here? No, let's do the red. I like to bring up the different parts of the painting like at the same time. I know there are some artists who work like very intensely on one small section of the painting and then move on to the next square inch. But I think there is a good argument to be made for being able to see the whole. So I am using now a red that is a combination of my cool red and my warm red to get something that is in between. And it's very light. So I'm just painting directly on top of the areas that I painted previously, a little bit darker. And as they dry, they're just gonna hopefully blend quite nicely. And again, like we want to be able to see some of that texture. So this red has a nice amount of texture. It has a nice amount of transparency. But, oh, hold on, I need to plug something in. Give me 1 second. So we have a nice amount of texture and transparency now in the red, but it doesn't really have that punch, right? That the brightness that the flower has. So the trick with getting the colors to pop is actually using the strongest color as an accent. So I'm going to use my vermilion. And now, contrary to everything I've told you so far, I'm going to use it in a more concentrated version. So at the very end of the painting, you can use the paint less transparently, or I mean, not the very end, but as you get to the final layers. And you can add the brightest areas of color. So I'm not adding this everywhere. Really more like as an accent. And I can do the same thing in the orange. I can add a little bit more of an accent there as well. Just adding some more concentrated version of that color. So if I added this brighter version of the color, if I add that everywhere, then what will happen is that the painting will become flat again. Adding some little darker shadows as well. So this is like an adjustment layer. Just going back to the yellow shadows. So for these larger leaves, I'm going to add some phthalo blue to my green because they're that great. It's a different colored green. See, this is maybe a little bit too much magenta. So I want to just have this kind of bluish, grayish green color for those leaves. Just painting around that one yellow anther. But again, with this first layer, it doesn't have to be so perfectionistic. That yellow will be there. I'm not really worrying if there are visible brush strokes because it's just going to add a little bit of texture to the leaf. While I have this darker green, I can add a bit more of a shadow to this part of the stem. So now I can add my darker green to these other leaves as well. Just gonna leave some loose gaps for where these really light veins in the leaves show through, but since that's not the focus of this painting, I'm not gonna be so precious about it. I'm just gonna leave a loose indication of that. I'll hold this up in a second so you can see what I mean. So I've just let a couple of gaps to indicate the veins, but I didn't paint every single one. And just adding a very light lemony green over the buds. Just painting over the whole thing now, just as a way to add the local color and also to blend what I had before. And I can do that to this leaf as well. Because of course those lighter areas that are shining through, they're not white, yellowish green. And realize that these larger, lower leaves, they're not really in the greatest of focus on the photo. So I'm just gonna add, I can make out a little texture though. I'm just gonna add some texture there. And I think it's okay if it's not too detailed. Also want the color to be a little darker in here with that nice contrast, the yellow. So let that dry. And towards the base, there's a little bit of this more yellowish green. So this is pretty close to being done now, I would say. Right now it's in a little bit more of a sketchy style, but I think it's a good style for a wildflower, and think it yeah, that's what I set out to do for this painting, so I'm pretty satisfied with it. Of course, the longer you look at something, the more detail you start to see and the more detail you want to paint. But also with watercolor, at a certain point, it's better to stop working on a painting because you run the risk of overworking it. So an overworked watercolor painting is usually when certain areas start to become opaque, and then they start to, and you can't really work on it. Yeah, I overwork my paintings all the time as well. It's really a challenge. I apologize to everyone for the unstable internet connection. We had some problems in my building with the internet today, so I'm doing the best that I can with the imperfect situation here. I covered a lot of different techniques in this class today, so I hope that you were able to follow along. And I would like to take a little bit of time at the end to see what other people did in the class. So think about if you might be able to share your work with us. I just wanted to say as well, a little pitch for myself, that if you would like to have a very in-depth, at your own pace explanation of all of the various techniques that I've used, from brush control to color mixing, I do have a video course where the videos are pre-recorded, so you don't have to worry about the unstable internet connection, and you get much, much higher quality videos than Zoom provides. So that is something that is available, that I will also send more information about in a follow-up email. And I'm also starting on, in a couple of weeks, the summer Botanical Watercolor Workshop, which is a live workshop. And I would love it if some of you might want to join. It's a weekly workshop. And I'm going to send, just for the people that participated in this class, I'm going to send you all in a follow-up email and a little discount. Thank you for participating. And yeah, just one more time. Again, if you want to make just even a very, very small donation, if you liked this class, there will be a recording later. You can just scroll down to the bottom of the blog post and you can leave even just a couple of dollars at the PayPal link. The PayPal account is accepting other PayPal accounts, of course, but you can also use a credit card or a debit card. You can use pretty much everything there. So I am going to take my